Hey everyone, in this video I want to go through a basic overview of the T2000 Heat Trace Controller. So the T2000 Heat Trace Controller is a very old heat trace control panel, but we still see these panels all the time, still in the service, still working, and they are pretty rock solid considering how old that these heat trace controllers are. Okay, so the T2000 Heat Trace Controller you will see in this rack configuration. So each rack has the ability to have 10 HTC cards, and each one of these is controlling one independent heat trace controller. The first card, which you'll typically see on the first rack, and in the far left position is the communication module. So typically this is an AC2000 heat trace communication card. This card is used to connect to the T2000 panel via serial locally on the front, more likely remotely on the back using an RS-45 connection on the back, or even an Ethernet connection as well, which is on the back of the rack. This card then allows us to communicate to like Smart Trace, for example, or Raychem Supervisor, and then be able to look at a full T2000 system. Now, this one AC2000 has the ability to communicate up to 256 HTCs or heat trace controller cards, and specifically the CM2000 plus modules. So what that means is that you could have one panel with multiple racks of these multiple T2000 racks, and even multiple panels side by side, all connected via one AC2000 plus module. Now, going over to the heat trace controllers, so most typically they're these CM2000 pluses, as I had mentioned, and each one of these heat trace controllers has two RTD inputs. It'll output either to a solid state relay or a contactor, an EMR, and on the heat trace, on the HTC cards, what we're going to see is is actually quite a bit of information. We're going to see each one of these heat trace control cards cycle through what its current temperature is, what its current is, and what the set point of that heat trace controller is. It'll also have some LEDs that'll will show the output if there's an alarm on the circuit, and will show transmit receive. So these transmit receives, you're going to see these flashing all the time. This essentially means that this HTC module, or CM2000, is communicating to the communication card as well. So these are going to be flashing all of the time. The other thing you're going to see is that the controllers will also give you some alarm indications. You're going to see over here in HTC slot 5 is that this controller is in ground fault, so GFI. You're going to see that alarm indication here. And then HTC 9, you're going to see this TSF, meaning it's a temperature sensor failure. So it's going to give you some indication of what the alarm is. There's a few other alarm indications or display indications that'll here that are possible, and I'll have that, or this will be in the knowledge base article that accompanies this video. The other thing I wanted to mention is here you see this FRP that follows the set point. What this indicates is that HTC One has been programmed to be an ambient master heat trace controller, meaning an ambient RTD could be connected to this heat trace controller and it could control ambient slaves. So for example, HTC 2 is set to an ambient slave, and you'll see this ATC after the set point. And that indicates that, hey, if you ever see an ATC, you know that that card is programmed to an ambient slave. And if you ever see this FRP, you know that that controller is set to an ambient master config. The other thing that's possible, and that is you can do with these heat trace controllers, if you ever need to reset this heat trace controller, the easiest way to reset this heat trace controller is pulling the card out and reinserting it. So what you're going to see is if I pull the card out, I'm going to go black, I can insert it, and it's going to go through a countdown. And then after it's resetting, we're going to see the output is going to turn on. So it's going to go through a self-test and energize the heat trace circuit. So this is also a quick cheat. If you quickly need to test a heat trace circuit or get, to energize a heat trace circuit very quickly, you could pull the card out and reinsert it, and you'll energize either the contactor or the solid state relay. The other thing you'll notice, if you notice when I pulled this out, you'll see this timer on it. So you'll see a countdown on it. And this is going to go from 3 to 1, and then it's going to go through that cycle. Every card is going to be different on that countdown. This one's going to start at 7. The purpose of that is if power were to cycle on a heat trace controller, that all of these cards are going to turn on at different times. And the real purpose is you're not having this massive inrush current on all of your loads all at the same time. Okay, that's it everyone. I hope this was useful.